Okay, so you join me down on my local big pit once again for the part 2 of the Road to 150 journey. Now, I've been away in France for the last week or so, which is why I haven't got an update out sooner, but I was over there trying out my new 13-foot, 3.5 pound stepped up free spirit Helicals. So this video is going to be all about the difference between a 12-foot rod and a 13-foot rod. Now, it's something I wanted to have a play with side by side, so this video is going to be me just giving the 12-foot TX4's intensities that I already had a good casting with, which are what I used in the last video, and then we're going to be swapping the reel straight over, so it's the exact same line, same setup, onto the 13-foot free spirits, and we're going to be seeing what distance gains I can get just by swapping rods. Nothing else will be changing. So I was really interested to see, because I am only a small guy, I'm not very muscly or bulky, so I wanted to see if I really was getting much difference on a day-by-day comparison with a 13-foot rod, because I am going to struggle to compress them because I'm not the biggest guy in the world. So we're going to give these 12-foots a go. We've got a bit of a headwind today, it's a bit more choppy, so the distances aren't going to be as good as before probably, although I have been practicing a bit. So we're going to give these a bash, and then we're going to have a little chat about the distances we're getting before swapping over and having a talk about the free spirit Helicals. Alright, so as you see there, I've just had a good chuck with these. As you see, the water's chopping into me a bit. The wind's starting to pick up now into my face, and a bit of a spit of the rain, so it might not be the longest video because I've only got the day to mess around with and the weather doesn't look great for filming, but we'll crack on anyway. Now, as you can see there, hit the clip a couple of times there, and my limit once again, weirdly, was 33 wraps, which is about where we were in the last video, even though we've got a headwind this time, so my casting's obviously improved a little bit over the last few weeks. So we're now going to give the free spirit a clip up and see if we can hit that distance straight away on the 13 foot. So it'll take me a little while to swap between the two rods. So we're going to have a cast around with them, see what distance we can hit, and then I'll report back to you with the distances of the 13 foot, and also we'll talk a bit of detail about the 13 foot free spirits. Okay, so you join me now with the free spirits. I've just had a good cast for those, as you've just seen, and the distance gains, it was there, but it wasn't as massive as I thought it might have been, but I have got a headwind, same line, same reel, same lead, everything exactly the same, just swapped over. It took me a little while to get used to the 13 footers again, but as I say, the TX4 intensities in 12 foot, I was hitting 33 wraps, and I swapped over to these with the same setup, and I was hitting 37.5 wraps. Couldn't quite hit the 38 with this wind, so there was a good gain, 4.5 wraps gain just by swapping to a 13-foot rod. So it's definitely worthwhile for trying to get the distance. That obviously will improve as I get used to the 13-footers, learn how to compress them properly, and work on my technique, because it isn't the greatest, as you can tell from the video footage, but I am working on it. We're getting there slowly. But yeah, so we've got a bit of a gain there. So if I just talk you through these rods, because they're quite an interesting rod really, the free spirit Helicals. I think that's how you pronounce them. There's not much about them online at all. Free Spirit have hardly got them even on their website, but they're a really nice blank. They come in at a really reasonable price. They come in at, actually, I think it's £119 if you're buying one rod. If you buy 2 rods with Free Spirit, you get 5% off, and if you get 3 rods from Free Spirit, you get 10% off. So they're basically 99 quid a rod if you're buying a set of 3, which you probably most likely will be. They're 13 foot, 3.5 pounds stepped up. Now, feeling these, they do feel actually slightly more beefy just in the blank than the 12-foot intensity TX4s that I had. They feel a lot more tippy than these, although playing fish on these the last few days, they do have a really nice action, really nice through action as you're playing fish. So I had fish to 38 odd pounds out in France. None of the biggies came out, sadly, to give them a real test, but they performed really nicely. Playing fish on them, didn't really feel any difference to playing fish on the 12-foot rods that I've had in the past. I know some people don't like the feeling of playing fish on 13-foot rods, but I actually really quite enjoyed it. I felt like I had quite a lot of there if I wanted to give them some to turn them away from snags, which they were down my margin hand side. Felt like I had a lot of leverage to move the fish around on, which I really enjoyed. But yeah, they're a really nice blank. I'm not really sure why there's not a lot of info on them. Because the Free Spirit seem to push their CTXs, I think, rather than these. But these are a cheaper rod. They're a really nice blank. They have 50mm ringing, and yeah, they just look a really classy blank. Standard DPS black reel seat on there. As I say, I've just got the abbreviated handles, and that is one thing that I did notice between swapping from the TX4 intensities to these. Something that I quite like on the Shimano rods is they have a longer butt section on the handle, so that you've got a lot more leverage there. The gap between your hands is slightly bigger, and I feel like you've got more leverage there than I do with these. Whether that actually makes much difference, it's meant to, and it does feel like you get a bit more tip speed with those 12-foot rods than my old 12-foot rods, if you're following. So yeah, it's quite interesting. I've got a gain with swapping to the 13-foot rods. 4.5 wraps, nothing to be sniffed at. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see when I start messing around with line a bit more, start working my technique. I'm hopefully going to try and find someone to book in a lesson with to get a proper casting lesson. Someone that's willing to let me film it as well would be great, just to give you a few pointers and to see what difference it will make from actually having someone analyse my technique and going through it properly. So yep, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Check out the Free Spirit Helicals. I'm not sponsored by them, so it is a thorough review, just how I feel about stuff on here. But it's a nice way to look at some budget entry rods, and there's just something about a Free Spirit rod. I've had their rods in the past. I had a set of XS's back in the day, and there's just something about them that just looks a really classy quality blank. And I must admit, I didn't really like the pictures of these when I saw them online. I didn't like the look of the weave on the carbon. It is something to get used to, but in person they look a lot nicer than they do in photographs, in my opinion. They're a really classy, nice blank, and a couple of people on my trip last week noticed them on my rod rest and had a look at them, saw them from a distance, and they were all surprised at the price point. Everyone thought they were a much more expensive rod than what they actually are. So yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this one. The next video on the long range to casting video, it might be a line one because I'm going to be messing around with line, or you might be doing spotting at range and looking at the 13-foot spod rods that I've got as well, and just giving it a good go over. So let me know in the comments down below if there's anything you want to see on this series. A few of you were saying about swapping distance, lead styles, various different lines, leaders, no leaders, all that kind of stuff. So leave a comment down below with what you'd like to see in this journey of me trying to learn how to fish at range. Make sure you click like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.